Because of the microbial level of attention spans promoted by social media shorts, you have to drop a hook within the first 6.6 nanoseconds of your video. I am Couch Coop. Just talking about that situation has probably lost me a few viewers. Hello, they've gone, mate. I got super lucky and was able to access my older saved data from when I played this on my PlayStation Pro. Why is that super lucky? It's just cloud save. This is that Dubai defunct account, so it's kind of like a relic, a bit like Ubisoft's quality control department. Talking about that Pro Edition, we did actually see an official 9th gen patch come in for this game. It actually runs at 2K and 60 frames per second, which is a lot better than Origins, which still sits at 1080 and barely reaches 60. This is Assassin's Creed Origins over on my PC. This is 1080, 60 frame, everything up to ultra on the settings, and bruh, my god. Yeah, that's well worth swinging back to. And I've spoken about the game way too much, I feel, on the channel. So my point being is we haven't got a bad deal with the PlayStation 5 version of Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, my tough job with this video is to convince you that this is better than Black Flag and Origins, or even some of the very modern Mirages or Valhalla. I will say nothing gives your pan more presence than two randoms standing there in loincloths, but I want to point out just the sheer spectacle and in-game detail on all of this Greek mythology and canon history. It's absolutely mind-blowing. This game was made during the Creed phase of sort of education, when they were trying to sort of direct people to background information on famous structures and places. You could just read up in-game information on these massive structures, arenas, the Colosseum, everything had a small bit of blurb behind it. I kind of like that aspect. If you played it over on the PlayStation 4 on launch, or if you're remotely a fan of this game from its inception, you'll be aware of how much work went into a lot of these locations. They are very spectacular. They had to up the ante against Origins pyramids, for God's sakes. That was a big ask. If you're relatively up to speed with my content, you'll know that I've recently put out the PlayStation 5 Mirage review and the Valhalla material. I've looked at that game twice, compared it to Odyssey over on the PC. So this isn't my first rodeo with having to semi-deep dive AC games. I've also looked at Unity recently as well, because that one had a strange place in my memory with all of the bugs on launch. Again, they patched that to improve it, and that goes for Syndicate and Unity. They are very strong video games in their own right, particularly Unity with the amount of personnel on screen. That is something we've seen quite a steady decline on with modern AC games, but Mirage tries to pull that back a bit. I'm talking about busy, populated, dense cities. That is something we did not see in Valhalla, unfortunately. But to the Odyssey question, we get both. We have that sparse, amazing, beautiful open world to enjoy with the wildlife and the woodlands and the mountains, but the cities are still pretty cool. They have height, more importantly. You can do some parkour, and there's a relatively rich depth of NPC wandering around within populated areas, be it smaller villages, cities, that sort of thing. This is the point in the video where I apologize for some of the HDR white bloom. It's really out of hand actually looking at this footage in hindsight, but I want to show you that it is brilliant on its implementation. The screen just buzzes with vibrancy, particularly in that full sunlight if you go anywhere near these white sanded beaches or cliffs. So that's part of the general aesthetic covered. Let's talk about underwater, how it deals with larger bodies of water, and what your place is within that game structure, because newer Creeds have dumbed down the actual boat battles or even navigating on a larger vessel or having a crew. All of that has gone in Mirage, and it's not that great in Valhalla, let's be honest. So all of this footage is captured quite literally the other day, and I had this thing where I kept saying to myself, and you'll be aware of it if you saw any of the Outlaws video review, I keep saying Odyssey stop like out loud, like, because everything is landing in the right place, like the sun, the dolphins, the battles, a whale will pop up, the shark will come and get me, and I am just believing that I'm stitching my own amazing adventure together because of these very well placed in-game elements, particularly on those ships and in larger bodies of water. So this is where Black Flag steps forward, rolls up its sleeves and gives out an almighty shiver me timbers. Here's the thing about Black Flag, and you may have forgotten this in hindsight, but its in-game water mechanics, i.e. swimming around, free roam swimming under the boat or in and around the areas, is extremely limited. It's only the diving bell and certain allocated sections of the game that allow you to actually get in the drink, but it does still have the sharks, even whale hunting, and the ship battles, so it's got that going for it. I've got to get back to my ship at this point, and yeah, I am saying out loud, Odyssey, stop. I do have a genuine fear of sharks. I think everybody does. Making that quick journey, them snapping at me, even being able to attack them in the water felt pretty damn exhilarating. As much as I love Valhalla, pikes don't get that big. So here we go again. I know these are scripted in. I know it puts them in when you're looking out that way, but we got one of the biggest Odyssey stops right here. My pulse is still racing from getting chased down by a bunch of sharks. The fleet management thing and all those logistics that come off the back of manning a larger craft in this game, I'm not a massive fan of. I don't mind upgrading or even having to repair or get loot from enemy ships, but it's just cool to be able to have that one-on-one or even group battle out in the sea. I feel that any Creed that doesn't include that now is kind of missing something, but that setup is not going to be applicable to every single one of those games that come out. Now Shadows is an interesting one because that could well include full-blown nautical combat like Black Flag and Odyssey.
Don't mind her. She likes to watch.
The game also comes with a surprising amount of self-aware humour from the writers. It keeps you engaged. It does exist to that new rule that a lot of Assassin's Creeds recently have in them, which is do a bit of campaign, then you have to reach a bracket which will be an XP number up in the top right before you can actually go forward, thus pushing you to do other materials, side quests and tasks prior to be able to get some of that main content out the way. So it's not ideal for everybody. I like it because it forces you to then explore and start talking to different people and find out more about the surroundings you're in as opposed to hurtling through that story. Can we now talk about one of the more important aspects of this game, and for me it is its combat, because this is a third-person ARPG essentially, and they've switched a lot around since Origins and gone back on a lot of things with Valhalla, so this one's super important. So you do still have a hard and fast attack option, and you also have your specials which are applied with the L2 or even L1, talking about that yellow stuff in the bottom left hand corner, and that can be explored to quite a lot of detail within the skill options. It also keeps the really important weapon variation and stance difference and attack pattern attached to what you've got in your hand. If you have a spear, things are different to a double-handed short sword. Or even dual wielding opens up various animations that you wouldn't have seen before. This one is so integral to me. It gives me an incentive to get new gear, get new stuff, work out how to play with different weapons. That also applies to a lot of the ranged material. These special skills, that yellow material I've been talking about, are considered by some a little bit OP. The Spartan kit can be well abused, but I think it's placed just in the right area with difficulty. The game has to sort of catch up with you and start introducing really beefy enemies that are sometimes immune to these moves or even not effective enough to be bothered using. Also, so importantly, hasn't forgotten about its stealth roots. Some modern AC games just cause you to be able to just wade straight in. There's no need to peel off a group. There's no need to creep around an enemy base. But with this, they're formidable and intelligent enough to force you to start making decisions on where and who to attack first from cover. also a parry reward with slowdown. I love that idea. It's almost platinum-like level of precision when you get out of the way of one of those unavoidable or unblockable red moves. It adds another layer and it gives you a massive window and makes you look badass as hell because everything's going in bullet time and you're whacking all these oblivious enemies over the head. It's pretty cool stuff, but again, it isn't pitched too much in the OP direction. I feel it settles in with the day-to-day AC combat just about, and that is, I think, where a lot of the pushback is with this game, is the combat's a little bit something else, almost not Assassin's Creed like. This is where Valhalla, for me, absolutely nails it with its hammers and double-handed broadswords. You've even got maces on chains. It's very cool in the weapon variant department, alongside changing those animations and moves up. Mirage has just completely, basically removed a large portion of that. But Odyssey has got friggin' all of it, as far as I'm concerned.
You're out of my way, and I get paid.
Also, our last chance to see a decent version of that barbarian or nemesis system, or even gladiator hierarchy, with the people that are looking for you and how you take them out, how that roster changes, and how you have to be careful, or if you're hunted down by a lot of these mercenaries, you'll have big situations on your hands, and they are immune to loads of stuff. You have to get ranked up and get your act together to be able to take some of them on. They have additional bear-like sidekicks. It's pretty awesome how much personality are put into these wandering barbarian mercenary dudes. And talking of pretty awesome, yeah, we do have an Odyssey stop moment here. I'm like, everything's gonna be fine. Just because I haven't got a big boat doesn't mean I can't make it over to that island. And those sharks that were following me earlier, they can do one because I'm home and dry. I also get to latch on to a battleship and go right over it, instigate combat, dive off the other side, get the arrows going through the water after me. Bro's white briefs when he's swimming. Doesn't get much better than this on an AC level. There is an aggro meter in the bottom right. That's what those red helmets mean. I thought it was to do with the mercenaries, but it's not. It's a bit like that Mirage system, where if you just cause loads of crap, even at the opposing factions' teams, that reminds me there is two directions to go in with who you align with in that open world. You will get more and more coming after you, and this can really result in some panic. You'll get mercenaries just stepping in to the normal day-to-day combat when you're trying to take a camp over.
Can't believe it! Just surrender!
Think briefly back to Black Flag, one of the areas it will be Odyssey on, and this is also down to sort of contextual opinion. It does have some of the best locations in an Assassin's Creed game, full stop. That Caribbean set, those skies, that sea, tropical islands, palm trees, everything, even the attire and the languages used. It's a very, very pretty game. It really should be remastered properly. I wish they'd have thrown money at that instead of warmed up DLC, otherwise known as Mirage. Origins really has all of this also, but just without that ship-to-ship combat, and that's why after playing Valhalla, Syndicate, Unity, Mirage and Origins, I do realise that Odyssey, in my opinion, the strongest modern Assassin's Creed out there. Origins did get a standalone PlayStation 5 review. Very tempted to get that PC version on the channel if you saw that section at the beginning, but the chasm between Odyssey PC and PlayStation 5 is minimal. That's the good news. The other good news is that you don't have a minute attention span. I have been Couch Coop. I will see you down there.
The unsubscribed must be punished.
You wouldn't look stupid in a dress, if that's what you wanted to wear.
Any more questions? Huh? little cheeky. Oh,
Ah, shit. They're still holding it. Sorry.
I can't read minds.
Ew. You like flirting with me? Knock it off. Get in the car.